Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kayla and it's time to crack into a good book. So today's video is going to be covering many of the June releases that I'm particularly excited about, and usually I try to kind of go through each month and just narrow it down a little bit to just like the ones that I'm really excited about, but I don't know, I feel like I couldn't do as good of a job for this month just because there are so many releases that I'm just like excited about all of them. So I will have 21 books to talk to you about today, and it's a good mixture of fantasy, sci-fi, thrillers, romance, so something for everybody perhaps. So before we get into that, I just want to take a moment and address some of the current events that are happening, such as, the murder of George Floyd and all these protests around the world. And, it is Pride Month as well, so I had been seeing some problematic posts on Twitter that were pretty homophobic, so I just want to make it very explicitly clear where I stand. So I just want to say that I support people of all races, genders, and sexualities. In regards to specifically these protests and just the general systemic racism in the US and I'm sure other countries around the world, there are a few resources that I found recently that I will leave in the description box for you to check out. First and foremost, I want to say that Shay, I believe her channel is Books with Shay, has organized a booktube buddy read for us. This will take place from June 5th to June 19th, and there will be a live show and discussion on June 19th with a variety of Black booktubers. But the books chosen for this buddy read are White Fragility and White Rage, and one of these books is by a white author and the other is by a Black author. And Shay wanted us to read both of these books to kind of get a full picture of the situation and to, start a good discussion. And I really like that. I've been kind of looking around at some books that would be just helpful to read in general, and these two are ones that frequently pop up, as well as How to Be an Anti-Racist, and I think that all of these would be worthwhile to read. I did see that How to Be an Anti-Racist is on Kindle. It's one of these great on Kindle books, so when you buy those books you actually earn credit to buy more great on Kindle books, and they have a wide variety of various nonfiction things, self-help, biographies, autobiographies, things like that. So I would encourage you all to look at the announcement video for this buddy read, and I will leave that again linked in the description. It's an 8-minute video, really not that much of your time, and Shay is just so eloquent, so I would highly suggest watching that and taking part in this buddy read. So another actually surprisingly helpful resource I found was through BuzzFeed, and I realize it is BuzzFeed, but that being said, I think this was a really great collection of places you can donate, places or various petitions that you can sign, podcasts, and then a recommendation of books that you can read to help educate yourself on the matter. And I think that, again, it's BuzzFeed, but this was a surprisingly well done article, so I'm going to leave that down below so you can check it out as well. I did see on Spotify that they have some interviews with the authors of these books, as well as just general discussions of the books. So I did search for White Fragility, White Rage, and How to Be an Anti-Racist, and all of those have something on Spotify in case you're interested in checking that out. Now we can get into the books, and I'm going to move from starting from the earliest in the month to the end of the month. And we have a variety of really great books here. We'll start with June 2nd, and the first book I'll talk about here is The Obsidian Tower by Melissa Caruso. So this is probably one of my most anticipated books of the year. I loved her Swords and Fire trilogy, and I believe that this takes place in the same universe world, but possibly a good bit later. In The Obsidian Tower, we follow the granddaughter of a ruler of Viscander, which is kind of the Witch Lord country, and so she's destined for power and prestige at the top of society, but her magic is broken, so she can only just uncontrollably drain the life from everything she touches. This is obviously not ideal. So then one night she accidentally kills a visiting dignitary in self-defense and activates a mysterious magical artifact sealed in an ancient tower in the heart of her family's castle. So she runs away and tries to find a solution to her magic, and then ends up joining up with a group of unlikely magical experts investigating the disturbance in Vescander, and she realizes that her family is in danger and her domain is at stake. So basically she and her new friends must return to the castle to take control of the artifact that everyone wants before it destroys the world. So, you know, high stakes there, but I'm very excited for this book, and I just can't wait for my copy to arrive. So the next book I'll talk about that has already come out on June 2nd is A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown, and I have been, like, keeping track of this book for months. I saw the cover reveal and like heard about this book a while ago, and I've just been waiting, and my copy is going to be on its way soon. But so this is a YA fantasy, and this is the first in a duology, and this is inspired by West African folklore. And so we have one character who is a refugee, and I believe is trying to escape his war-stricken home and start a new life with his sisters in a prosperous desert city. However, a vengeful spirit abducts his younger sister as payment to enter the city, so he strikes a fatal deal to kill the crown princess for his sister's freedom. But our crown princess apparently has some deadly aspirations of her own. Her mother has been assassinated, her court threatens mutiny, and this like festival that's going on is kind of looming, and so she decides to resurrect her mother through ancient magic, which requires the beating heart of a king. So she is going to offer her hand in marriage to the victor of one of this like festival competition. So our refugee main character rigs his way into the contest, and basically they're going to be attempting to destroy each other, but of course attraction flares between them and an ancient evils stir, so will they be able to see their tasks to the death? So that just sounds absolutely wonderful, and this has like such a gorgeous cover. I am so ready to read this. Alright, so the next book that comes out is actually a June 4th release, and I think that's because it releases in the UK. I don't know what's going on with the US release. Like, at least it says on Kindle that it's being released on June 4th, but I don't know about like a physical copy. But anyway, that is Stormblood by Jeremy Szal, I think. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce his last name. I tried to look it up, but couldn't really find much, I think. So anyway, hopefully that's right. But this is a sci-fi book, and we follow a main character who used to be a Reaper, so that's a bio-enhanced soldier fighting for the Harmony against some sort of invading empire. He's still fighting on a different battlefield, which is taking on Storm Tech. So Harmony has injected him with the DNA of an extinct alien race, altering his body chemistry and leaving him permanently addicted to adrenaline and aggression. So they're basically like trying to create super soldiers, I think, but they've created also like this new drug market that has millions hopelessly addicted to their own body chemistry. So it's like he may have walked away from Harmony, but they still know where to find him. His former Reaper colleagues are being murdered by someone or something, and he learns out that his estranged brother is somehow involved. So it's like an investigation he can't turn down, but the closer he comes to the truth, the more addicted to Storm Tech he becomes, and it's possible the war isn't over after all. So that sounds awesome. So then we move to June 9th, and the first book I'll talk about here is The Boyfriend Project by Farrah Rochon, and this is a rom-com, and it just sounds pretty funny. So our main character is like, never thought she would be that girl, but the live tweet of a horrific date just revealed the painful truth that she's been catfished by a three-timing jerk of a boyfriend. So she, along with his two other girlfriends, have gone viral online and basically like become best friends and are making a pact to spend the next 6 months investing in themselves, no men and no dating. So our main character is finally putting herself first and is developing an app that she's always dreamed of creating. And of course, she meets a deliciously sexy man at work. What are the chances? But is he really boyfriend material, or is he too good to be true? So that just sounds like a highly entertaining rom-com, and I'm ready for it. So I think that was actually the only June 9th release. We'll move to June 16th now, and the first book I'll talk about here is Don't Turn Around by Jessica Barry. So this is a thriller, and it's like 322 miles of road, 6 hours, 2 strangers, 1 killer, too many secrets. So our two main characters are on a desolate road that is going through New Mexico, and they've never met before, but both have secrets and both of their lives are in danger. So a truck is like pulling up behind them, and they assume that it's either teenagers doing a prank or it's road rage, but it's apparently very evident that whoever is driving the truck is hunting them for sport, and they're out to draw blood. So it's like, as the miles unspool and the dangers mount, the past they've worked so hard to keep buried have come back to haunt them. Someone wants one of them dead, but which one is it? And basically they're going to have to learn to trust each other and themselves. So that sounds like a pretty intense thriller, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. The next book I'll talk about on June 16th is American Demon by Kim Harrison. So I'm very excited for this. I've actually already pre-ordered it, but we're returning to the Hollows series, and this is an urban fantasy series about, basically, that takes place in, I think it's Cincinnati. It has witches, vampires, demons, like a whole bunch of elves, actually, as well, I think. A whole bunch of fun creatures, but I'm very excited to return to the Hollows, and I'm gonna like try to minimize what I say here to avoid spoilers. Basically, things have gone wrong after where we've left off at the what I thought was like the end of the regular Hollow series. The same acts that have forged new powers have maybe released something bound by the old powers. So there's some zombies, some new murders, and an exceedingly mysterious new demon in town. So Rachel is gonna like have to give it her all to counter this new threat in the world, and it may demand the sacrifice of what she most holds most dear. So I don't know, I feel like this is probably not a great place to jump into this series. I recommend starting with the actual Hollow series, so you just like know everything that's going on and like have, you know, get acquainted with all these characters. But I'm very excited for this. The next book I'll talk about that comes out June 16th is The Kinder Poison by Natalie May, and I've actually already pre-ordered this as well, and it has like the most striking cover, I swear. Like, I'm in love with just like how vibrant it is. This is, I believe, a YA fantasy adventure. So I think our main character has dreamed of leaving this kingdom and having like adventures that she's heard about in the stories, but she is a lowly whisperer, so she has the power to communicate with animals, but this means that her place is serving in the royal stables until the day her magic runs dry. But this changes when the ruler, I think, of this kingdom invokes the Crossing. So this is a death-defying race across the desert, in which the first of his heirs to finish and take the life of a human sacrifice at the end will ascend to the throne. So basically, you know, obviously the kingdom is quite abuzz at this, and so our main character is leaping at the chance to change her fate. So she sneaks into the palace. And then she ends up being caught in a feud between the heirs and is forced to become the human sacrifice in this crossing. So basically, it's like her only hope for survival hinges on the impossible, somehow figuring out how to overcome the most dangerous people in the world. So that sounds wonderful. I've seen several very positive reviews for this already, so I'm excited for it. The next book that comes out June 16th, which I've also pre-ordered, is Devolution. I like don't really know how to pronounce that, but this is by Max Brooks. And so this is like a kind of a horror thriller type book, I think, and this is set in Washington State. Basically, this city was once a model eco-community until nature's wrath made it a tragic object lesson in civilization's fragility. This was kind of like a nice paradise before an eruption, and this has left its residents cut off from the world and unprepared for the consequences. So, you know, they have no weapons and the food supplies are dwindling, and they slowly start to realize that they're in a fight for survival, and basically they're facing Sasquatch. So this is, I think, told in like a journal format, and supposedly these journals are recovered from the town's bloody wreckage, and Max Brooks is faithfully reproducing our journalist's words along with his own investigations of the massacre that followed and the legendary beast behind it. So basically it's like, if what she saw was real, we have to accept the impossible, that Bigfoot walks among us. So it's a part survival narrative, part bloody horror tale, part scientific journey into the boundaries between truth and fiction. So yeah, that sounds fun. I'm here for all of this like cryptozoology stuff. So the next book I'll talk about that comes out June 16th is Stranger Planet by Nathan W. Pyle. So this is the second collection of these like alien comics that he's done, and the first one was Strange Planet, and it's just like so delightful. So this is like a collection of his Instagram comics as well as some original works created exclusively for this volume, and we're going to be exploring 4 major topics: traditions, nature, emotions, and knowledge. So, I mean, this is just like, if you want like a little cute comic that just like makes you feel good, I would really recommend picking this up. I'm excited for it for sure. Then we move to June 23rd, and the first book I'll talk about here is Shadowfall, and this is one of the Alphabet Squadron novels for Star Wars. and this is by Alexander Freed. So the Alphabet Squadron, which is made up of various pilots of different ships, so like the Y-Wing, the A-Wing, the B-Wing, the X-Wing, etc. So we've got and I think the other one's the U-Wing, if I'm remembering that right. But anyway, so they're leading the search for the Shadow Wing. And this is a group of Imperial TIE fighters, and basically the pressure to find this Shadow Wing before it's too late has begun to shake our Alphabet Squadron apart. One of our main characters is working with the New Republic Intelligence's contentious leader, I think, and a legendary general to basically create this trap for Shadow Wing that could finish the chase once and for all. But their enemy has evolved, so the last of the Imperial aces has stepped into the power vacuum at the head of Shadow Wing and reinvigorated the faltering unit in their hour of need. Basically, it's like he's found meaning again, leading the lost soldiers of his unit to safety, but the only thing standing in his way is the most mismatched squadron in the New Republic Navy, led by his former mentee. So, yeah, I mean, I'm all about the Star Wars books, and I did enjoy the first one, which I think was actually just Alphabet Squadron, if I'm remembering that right, but I'm looking forward to seeing how this will continue their story. The next book I'll talk about that comes out June 23rd is Hunted by the Sky by Tanaz Bhathena. So this looks like a really cool YA fantasy, and it's set in a world inspired by medieval India. So our main character has spent her whole life running and has a star-shaped birthmark on her arm. And basically what has been happening in this kingdom is that girls with these birthmarks have been disappearing for years. So this birthmark caused her parents' murder at the hand of the king's ruthless soldiers and basically has forced her into hiding. We have a group of rebel women called the Sisters of the Golden Lotus who rescue her and train her in warrior magic, but she really just wants revenge. Then we have another character who lives in the tenements and is basically about to join the army, I think. His father is terminally ill, and so this other main character wants to save his father. But sparks fly when he meets a mysterious girl who's our other main character. And of course, we have some chemistry going on. And so he ends up being entangled in a mission of vengeance and discovers that magic that he never expected to find. That sounds wonderful. This sounds like a really cool, diverse fantasy, and I'm looking forward to it. The next book that comes out June 23rd is Force of Souls by Lori M. Lee. So this is another YA fantasy, I believe. Our main character has been training for years to become the Queen's next royal spy, but plans are evidently derailed when some shamans attack and kill her best friend. But then our main character restores her friend to life. So that's interesting. So she's unveiled as the first soul guide in living memory and is summoned to the domain of the Spider King. For centuries, he has used his influence over the Dead Wood, which is a forest that's possessed by souls, to enforce peace between the kingdoms. However, these trees are growing wild and untamed, and only a soul guide can restrain them. So basically, we have some war going on, and our main character has to figure out how to use her magic before the trees shatter the brittle piece, or worse, claim the friend that she would die for. So that sounds really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing how that is. The next book I'll talk about that comes out June 23rd is The Angel of the Crows by Katherine Addison. This is an alternate 1880s London, and we have killers stalking the night, and the ultimate power is naming. So basically, it's this is not the story you think it is. These are not the characters you think they are. This is not the book you are expecting. So we have angels inhabiting public buildings, and we have vampires and werewolves and humans, and they're coexisting in this truce. So it's a fantastic utopia except for a few things. So angels can fall, and each of these falls is like a nuclear bomb in both the physical and metaphysical worlds. Human beings remain human with all their kindness and greed and passions and murderous intent. So we have Jack the Ripper stalking the streets of London as well. However, this London has an angel, the Angel of the Crows. So that's basically all I know about that, but that sounds super cool. I am strangely interested in books dealing with Jack the Ripper, so I'm very interested in picking this one up. The next book that comes out June 23rd, at least in the US, I believe this is already out in the UK, and that's The Kingdom of Liars by Nick Martell. So I've already heard very positive reviews for this, and I'm super excited. So this is a debut fantasy, and this is adult. So our main character is branded as a traitor because his father has murdered the king's 9-year-old son. And then 10 years later on, our main character is kind of struggling to get by with his sister. He performs crimes with his friends against minor royals in a weak attempt at striking back at the world that rejects him and his family. And it's like, this is a world where memory is the coin that pays for magic, so he knows that there's something in the emptiness of his mind. So he ends up getting an opportunity to go back to court and is trying to find some way back to his past, and he ends up discovering a royal family that is spiraling into a self-serving dictatorship as gun-wielding rebels clash against the magically trained militia. And it's like, we've got what the truth holds is some revelations that will completely change this world if he and like his family and friends can live long enough to see it happen. So yeah, that sounds super cool. It's, I believe, blurbed by Brandon Sanderson, which, I mean, like, sometimes you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt, but this sounds really interesting, and I'm very excited for it. The next book that comes out June 23rd is Head Over Heels by Hannah Orenstein, I think. And this seems to be a rom-com set in the world of competitive gymnastics, and I think this was supposed to come out to lead up to the Olympics, which obviously were postponed, but hey, I think you can use this for my Read the Olympics readathon, just saying. So it's like the past 7 years have been really hard on our main character. She's been training her whole life to make the Olympic gymnastics team, but she has some sort of disastrous performance that ended her athletic career. So then her best friend and teammate became an Olympic champion and then ended up marrying their emotionally abusive coach. So we've got some heavy topics here, it sounds like. Our main character has recently broken up with her football star boyfriend and returns to her hometown. And a new coach has asked her to help him train a promising young gymnast with Olympic aspirations. So she's a little worried about this, but ends up ultimately agreeing. And of course, sparks start to fly with this coach. Then we have a scandal in the gymnastics world, and it's like it has shattering effects not only for the sport, but also for our main character and her old friend. So I assume that this is going to be tackling some pretty heavy topics in what is likely like, you know, the real world gymnastics. But this sounds really intriguing to me, and I'm just really curious to see how it goes. Okay, so then I think we move to June 30th, and the first book I'll talk about here is Goddess in the Machine by Laura Beth Johnson. So I think this is a YA sci-fi. Our main character wakes up from a cryogenic sleep 1,000 years later than she was supposed to, and she's in this hot, dirty cave. So she wakes up and everyone's calling her a goddess. So she was expected to wake up in 100 years instead of 1,000, and the rest of the colonists, including her family and friends, are all dead because they died centuries ago, and all of their descendants think that our main character is a goddess. So she obviously knows that she is not, but it's like she'll play along if she can figure out why she was left in stasis and how to get back to Earth. So then we have another main character who's the exiled bastard prince. 4 years ago, the sleeping goddess's glass coffin disappeared from the palace, and he's like devoted himself to finding it. So he's hoping that she will be the key to taking his rightful place on the throne if he can get her to play her part as the goddess. It's like if his people realize she doesn't actually have the power to save their dying planet, they'll kill her. There's a vicious monarch on the throne and a city tearing apart at the seams, so it's like they maybe won't ever be able to unlock the mystery of her fate and unseat the king, especially because the prince has not been forthcoming with our main character. It's like in 1,000 years from home, is there any way of knowing that Earth is better than the planet she's spoken to? So that sounds pretty cool. The next book that comes out June 30th, I'm very excited about, and really I should be pre-ordering it. I don't know why I haven't yet, but that's The Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty. So this is the third and final book in the Devolution trilogy. And this is just like a wonderful, wonderful trilogy. Like if you're looking for like a desert fantasy series, I would highly recommend this. And this would count for several of the prompts for the readathon, just saying. Basically, we have this con woman. It starts off in Cairo and then kind of like travels to the Middle East where this city of Daevabad is. And we have some jinn. I'm going to try to not spoil things with the synopsis, but basically we have a fraying alliance and characters wanting to stabilize these warring people. One of our main characters has had these demons of his past unleashed and must face some ugly truths about his history and put himself at the mercy of those he once considered enemies. We have some other characters who have kind of gone on the run and have to face some difficult choices. Basically, they've left Daevabad in some not so great hands, and you know, they're kind of debating on like, well, do we just stay where we are now or try to return back to the city and rescue people? It's like, as peace grows more elusive and old players return, our characters come to understand that in order to remake the world, they may need to fight those they once loved and take a stand for those they once hurt. So, I mean, I'm just so excited for this, and I can't wait to see how this ends. I think I'm going to be emotionally wrecked if, just based on what Amber from Books of Amber has said about this. So I can't wait. The next book that comes out June 30th is She's Faking It by Kristin Rockaway. So I don't know if it's a rom-com or just like general contemporary, but our main character is not exactly pursuing the life of her dreams. She has dropped out of college and is living a chill life in the surf community of Pacific Beach, San Diego. If chill means delivering food as a grub getter, and if it means uneventful. So she starts a new Instagram account, and one of her posts gets boosted by a popular self-help guru who owns a lifestyle brand empire. So she is, our main character, now a rising star in Instagram influencing, and it's like, is this the direction her life has been lacking? It's not a career choice she'd ever really considered, but maybe it's a sign from the universe. Things are starting to go well for our main character: life goals, career, and a blossoming romance with a chiseled guy next door who's a surf star. And it's like, the things are about to go sideways fast, and even the perfect filter is not going to fix it. Like, Instagram might be free, but when your life looks flawless on camera, what's the cost? So I think that this is going to be a really interesting exploration of social media usage, and I just have recently been enjoying books that kind of explore that, so I'm intrigued by this. The next book that comes out June 30th is Crushing It by Lorelei Parker. So what's interesting to me here is that, I think this is also maybe a rom-com and or contemporary, but our main character is a female gamer. So she is going to be pitching her new role-playing game at a European conference, and so she's a game developer. It's but she has to overcome her fear of public speaking. What better practice than competing in a local bar's diary slam, regaling an audience with old journal entries about her completely humiliating college crush on this guy, until the moderator is next up, this dude that she had this crush on. So obviously she's really embarrassed, but this guy is flattered. It's caught up in the memories of her old obsession. As they reconnect, she tries to dismiss her growing qualms about him, but it's not easy to ignore her deepening friendship with this bar owner, who I guess were also classmates, and so she's basically wondering if she's been focusing her moves on the wrong target all along, misreading every player's motivations. So I don't know, that sounds really cool, and I like that she's a video game developer. The next book that comes out June 30th is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. So this is Gothic horror thriller type book, and so this is set in 1950s Mexico. And our main character, Noemi, goes to this distant house in the Mexican countryside because she has received a letter from her newlywed cousin begging for someone to save her from a mysterious doom. So she's our main character's not really sure what she's going to end up finding here. And so she, I guess, is a glamorous debutante and has chic gowns and perfect red lipsticks and everything like that, and is she's more suited for cocktail parties than amateur sleuthing, but she's tough and smart and not afraid. So I guess her cousin's new husband is menacing and alluring, and this dude's father is an ancient patriarch who seems to be fascinated by Noemi, and this house has been invading her dreams with visions of blood and doom. She, I think, teams up with the family's youngest son, who is shy and gentle, and he seems to want to help her, but he could also be hiding dark knowledge of his family's past. So she starts to dig deeper and unearth stories of violence and madness. And it's she's mesmerized by the terrifying yet seductive world of this particular house. She may soon find it impossible to ever leave this enigmatic house behind. So that sounds wonderfully creepy and awesome. So I've found that I have really enjoyed Gothic horror, so I'm super excited to see how this goes. Okay, and the final book I'll talk about also comes out June 30th, and that's The Lion's Den by Katherine St. John. So I think this is going to be kind of a closed circle murder mystery type book. Our main character ends up being invited by her best friend to this glamorous getaway to the Mediterranean aboard her friend's billionaire boyfriend's yacht. And so obviously she agrees to this, but she's she hopes it will be a much needed break from her stalled acting career and waitressing job. But once she's aboard this yacht, it becomes clear that this jet-setting holiday is not as advertised. So this vacation devolves into a nightmare as she and a handful of the other girls that this friend has invited are treated more like prisoners than guests by their controlling hosts And basically this best friend ends up being kind of revealed as a vicious gold digger who will stop at nothing to get what she wants. And like our main character realizes she's going to have to keep her wits about her and her own big secret, not sure what that is, close and hidden, if she wants to make it off this yacht alive. So I don't know if it's actually like a murder mystery, but it sounds like it, and that sounds like wonderfully like delicious intrigue and plotting and just like trying to survive this. So I'm excited for that. That sounds like a fun summary read. So we made it through all those books. Hopefully you're still sticking around and have found something that sounds good to you. Let me know in the comments if you think you might pick up any of these books or if there are other June releases that you're particularly excited about. For your question of the day, let's go with, have you read much in the way of gothic horror, and is that something that you enjoy? I hope you're having an excellent day and are reading something awesome. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a big thumbs up, as that would certainly help me out. But with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up here and see you in the next one.